So, Tá fáilte romh agus good evening, everybody, and thank you very much. I just want to introduce our panel. Judith Caffrey is the university's Admissions Communications Officer, and Snea Thomas is a student in law. And Judith, Snea, and myself, John McGinnity, we're here with you for the next 45 minutes or so to answer any questions that you might have in terms of the transition to college and the whole CAO process. One of the things just to mention at the beginning is the sense of questions. We love questions, so please pop a question into the Q&A. Also, parallel to this session, there is the platform around Ask Admissions question, which is on our website, and also Ask a Student. And they're running right up until 9 o'clock, so you're able to ask us any questions that you might wish. We're delighted that you're able to join us. Thank you for being with us. And please feel free to take any questions and just pop them into the chat. One of the wonderful things about Maynooth University is that we try across the year to give people an opportunity to join us digitally or in person. And so we're conscious here in Maynooth, it's a wet and dark January evening. We're conscious that people are joining us from all over the world. And where you are, it might be much sunnier. We'd like to be with you. One of the things that's nice about Maynooth is that the campus is a beautiful campus. We have a castle on the front gate, which is 1,000 years old. We have a brand new technology, society and innovation building, which is 55 million euro. We've just launched. And so we'd love you to join us in person in April for our spring open day on the 22nd of April. Or indeed our summer open day on the 24th of June. So one of the things just to mention is the aspect of transition. We talk about transitions in life, and what happens sometimes is they can be filled with excitement and wonderment, but also the aspect of nervousness and apprehension. And I think what we're going to have this evening is a short presentation from myself. Our colleague, Judith Caffrey, will be able to take questions that are coming in on the chat as we go along. And our student, Snea Thomas, who's a law student, will be talking to us later on about her own experiences in that sense of transitioning into college. In terms of the structure, one of the things we're going to be talking about this evening is the difference between school and university, the aspect of research, the aspect of pathways to college, and the welcomeness that's in Maynooth. We have about 15,000 students here studying with us every single day. And so in some way we're growing. We're one of the fastest growing universities in the country, very innovative curriculum. So we'd love you to join us here at the university to explore us more later in the summer and in the spring. What we'd say to you is, what we're very passionate about is that Maynooth University is a place where learning happens and people get a sense of being able to study something that they have a passion for. They also grow holistically as a person here with us. We've got about 200 different clubs and societies. And so it might be that you're somebody who's very active in school, very involved in things, or maybe not so. What we find is that students here, it's about €1 to join any of our societies. So there's an option to become part of the campus community. The other thing about Maynooth that's really good is the connections that we have in terms of work placement or study abroad, about 200 different universities, top-ranked universities all over the world that we're linked with. And then the final thing I just want to say about college and the benefit of a college is the aspect of the opportunity to get good employment. Our labour economists, when they look at it, they find there's about a 15% premium for every minute, for every hour, for the rest of your working life, in terms of the benefit that is bestowed from a college education. But as important, if not more important, is that you tend to find that college graduates are working in areas that they're much more job satisfied in and live healthier and more wholesome lives because of the benefits that accrue from the college education. Obviously, there's lots of changes that happen, and for a student to go from a school maybe of 500 students to 15,000, it's quite a step up. But what you find at Maynooth, it's very much a welcoming campus. Yes, we have classes that are large in terms of 200 or 300 students, but we have a whole set of tutorial groups, rather groups of 25. The assessment here is really interesting in the sense that we teach for about 12 weeks. We've got continuous assessment and labs during that period. We then have exams at the end of that, and then you move on to new material. So it's not like the Leaving Certificate or the A-levels where you're studying for 2 years and having to then take exams in the 2 years of learning. Every 15 weeks, students are moving into new material here at Maynooth. And then the other thing that's nice at Maynooth University is that the way we've structured our curriculum, we like to give, especially our first years, a chance during the first 4 weeks to sit in on different subjects, to explore different disciplines and decide, yes, this is what I wish to do. So if you take arts or science, you have 4 full weeks to shop around and ensure that this is the program that you actually wish to take. We're very strong in research and encouraging students to research. So that's why we have so many different opportunities to come and join us. But we're also interested that we'd be saying, if you're interested in a particular discipline, talking to students, talking to graduates who have done that particular course, it's very, very important. And the other thing you can see it here is the course finder. The Maynooth course finder, all of our 3,000 modules are actually up on the web, and you can drill in and have a look and see for every single subject, for every single degree, what would I be studying each year, and drill down into the material, how many hours, the timetable, all of that information is available for you. One of the other things that's available to you as well is a lot of really good websites like studentfinance.ie that would give you advice in terms of the costs of college. The Access College will say a bit more about that later on in terms of the HERE program and the DARE program. And there's 2 other websites I just want to mention is Qualifax and Careers Portal. And they're really good. Yes, on the Maynooth University website, if you want to understand the entry requirements, what subjects do I need, what grades, they're absolutely there. But there's also Qualifax and Careers Portal as well that are really good websites. And one of the nice things about Maynooth is how welcoming we are in terms of applicants from different parts of the world, but also applicants coming to us perhaps as a mature student or a student coming through the QQI PLC route. And we set aside 10% of our places for mature applicants. We set aside 10% of our places for QQI applicants. And we're very proud to say that Maynooth is a very, very warm and welcoming university in terms of applicants presenting different qualifications to join us. When we look at the framework of qualifications here in Ireland, it's right across the spectrum from level 1, which is primary education, up to level 10, which is doctorate. And our Leaving Certificate students will be at level 4 or 5. Level 5 would be whereby students are taking a range of honours level subjects. Level 4 would be a range of ordinary level subjects. But then you can see here the CEO looks after level 6 and 7 on one particular list of 10 choices. And then level 8, all of the programs here at Maynooth University are honours degrees. They're on the level 8 list. And they give you the requirements to move on, if you wish to go on and do postgraduate studies at masters, or indeed a doctorate, if you wanted to study maybe 4 or 6 years 4 years full-time or 6 years part-time, to go on and do a doctorate with us. One of the other ways to represent this is to say that there's many, many different pathways to come to Maynooth University. Many of our students are joining us straight from second level, from school Leaving Certificate exams. But we have some students who are moving from what we would describe as institutes of technology or colleges of further education, and using the qualifications from those colleges as a route to admission here in Maynooth. In terms of the Republic of Ireland, just to say in terms of the number of people who apply for CAO, which is the Central Applications Office across the 45 colleges, there's about 85,000 people in the most recent year, and it's going to be something very similar in 2023. And if you said, well, how many people got a place? It's about 50,000, about 43,000 at the level 7, level 8, and 6,000, over 6,000 at the level 7-6. So almost 50,000 places. So about 50,000 of the 85,000. And that could be a bit concerning because you're thinking, well, what happens to the other 30,000 people or so? And many, many students are going into the PLC route and reapplying to colleges the following year. And for instance, in Maynooth this year, we have about 300 or more than 300 students joining us as part of the QQI framework. In terms of the timeline, the CAO is open at the moment, and there's about 30,000 people have applied already. One of the things we'll be saying to you is we'll be encouraging you to make your application before the 20th of January at 5 p.m. at the early bird discounted rate of €30. You can apply up until the 1st of February for the higher cost of €45. And the 1st of February is a very important date. It's the restricted applications deadline date, 5 p.m. So it's very, very important to get your application in before then. But we'd be encouraging you to apply before the 20th of January so that you pay the reduced rate. The CAO then works basically in tandem with the students because you're going to be involved in mocks and orals and so on in spring. And they close down the option to change your mind and so on, but they open it on the 5th of May up until the 1st of July. So there's a window again between the 5th of May and the 1st of July to introduce and put in courses. And about 40,000 people put in their courses towards the last week in June, actually, after the Leaving Certificate and having taken A-levels and so on. But one of the things we're saying to you is in some sense, if you can, put as many of the courses in at this stage, and then you can move around. The restricted courses, though, you can't apply for in that late change of mind window. You have to apply for them before the 1st of February. And when we say restricted, there are courses like music at Maynooth University or community and youth work, whereby there'd be an audition or an assessment that happens in spring. Very, very important. You see the note here around applicants must satisfy matriculation. So here at Maynooth University, you do need 2 honours and 4 passes, 2 H5s, 4 O6s or H7s. You need to have a pass in English and a pass in Irish if you're studying in a school in the Republic of Ireland, or if you haven't got an exemption because of perhaps dyslexia. But if you're applying on the basis of other than the Leaving Cert, you do not have to have Irish. But then particular courses have requirements. So if you're doing a science program, you have to have a science subjects. Primary teaching, you'd have to have a H4 in Irish. Engineering, you have a H4 in maths, but we have a second chance maths exam that happens in the summer. And then we assess the points, and the places are allocated based on your points. We'll show you that a little bit later. One of the things we just want to mention to you is that the CAO handbook is an ever-changing dynamic document. So sometimes courses are there that are cancelled or new courses come along. And that's always available on the CAO website where you can check in and see any changes that are happening. In terms of the CAO application, what happens is you will be able to make an application and you will get an 8-digit CAO number with the prefix 23. So it might be 23, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So an 8-digit number. And that's very separate from your Leaving Certificate number, which is a 6-digit number. And you'll be getting that from your school, having applied to the State Exams Commission. So those 2 numbers will be with you for the year if you're applying on the basis of a Leaving Certificate qualification. The CAO is a private, so it's assuming that it's going to be just yourself that's applying. And when you apply, you pay the application fee, you create a password, and every time you want to go in and change your application, you do need your CAO number, your date of birth, and your password. So you'll be setting that up. The requirements that you're required to fill is all the biographical details around surname, other names, and so on. And then beyond that, it might be that you are a particular type of applicant. It might be you're a mature student, or you're applying from other countries under the other school leaving exams, or you're applying on the basis of a Leaving Certificate. And it's very, very important to tick the box. And it might be you're ticking more than one box here to get to title CAO. This is the basis for my admission. Very important that if you have a prior Leaving Certificate, it might be that you're using some of those subjects and grades to matriculate or to meet the subject requirements. So very, very important to have those courses in, or actually to have the Leaving Certificate number from a prior Leaving Cert in there. Obviously, we'll have a lot of people in tonight who are applying from other countries. So you'll be applying on the basis of other school leaving exams and then submitting your details on that later down the line. And obviously then you'll be making an application fee. But just the nice thing about the CAO is it's one particular platform that allows you to apply for up to 1,500 courses. And the 40 courses or so at Maynooth, you're able to apply on the Level 8 list, and you'll be setting up your CAO account and working from there. This is the very most important slide. In terms of the entire slide deck, this is the most important slide. Because what it says is that you need to put in your courses based on your genuine order of preference. So you say, what's the course I most want to do in the college I most want to be in? And that's number 1. And then you'd say, if I just didn't get that, what would be number 2? And you work right on down from 1 down to 10. And sometimes students just spend a lot of time focusing on their 1, 2, 3, and then courses beyond that are almost random. but it is as important that your sixth preference is more important than 7 and so on, because hundreds and hundreds of people get preferences from the lower end of the list here. So it's very, very important to spend that time. And it might be that you have 10 different cards. You're putting each of the degree level 8s on a card. You're moving the cards around the kitchen table until you arrive and saying, this is the order of my preference. And then you take the level 7-6 list, and it's a separate computer that looks after that. And it's the same principle again. You're saying, what's the level 7-6 course that's most of interest to me? And moving down from 1 down to 10. And you might say, should I be applying for level 7-6 at all? The answer would be saying is yes, because it's a really good backup. And often, sometimes what happens is a student might miss out on all of their courses on the level 8, but there's very good level 7-6 courses that they can progress from into level 8 programs down the line. So it's very, very important to have that. And the deadline for those choices is July the 1st at 5 p.m. So very, very important to put those in and work from that. When it comes to May, what will happen is the CEO will send you a statement of application record, and they'll be saying, this is what we know about you. These are your choices. If you've applied for an exemption, perhaps on the basis of dyslexia from the NUI in Merrion Square, that will be recorded on your statement of record. And it's very, very important to spend maybe about a half an hour working through the statement of record from the CEO to make sure, yes, my courses are all in the right order. I've mentioned the exams that I'm doing. I've got my exemptions there. So all of those details are absolutely there. I'll just stop at that point because we might take some live questions if there are any at this stage, Judith.
Sure, there are indeed, John. Yes, I'm currently studying the level 7 psychology course offered by Maynooth and hope to move on to the level 8 this coming academic year. How would I go about applying for the course? When I look at the CAO, it only mentions level 5 and 6.
Yeah, so you can absolutely apply on the CEO to MH106, which is the psychology program. We also have MH209, which is psychology through science. And if you're over 23, you'll be applying on the basis of mature years. So you'll be coming in to do an assessment with us in March, and then we've interviews as well. As a backup, you might also wish to include MH101 on your list as well. The reason I'm saying that is that we have a very small number of places for mature students on the pure psychology degree, MH106 and 209. But students sometimes come into arts and do psychological studies, and then we have a top-up master's conversion. It's competitive to get into, but just to give you the most options as a person who's doing the level 7, the psychology program, you'll be applying through the CEO and applying the level 8 course on the list. And back in terms of the categories, you'll be applying, saying you're in Maynooth University doing the level 7 psychology program.
Is the number of applicants the number of people with Maynooth as their first choice? So I think when you were talking about applicants earlier, John.
Yeah. So when we say applicants, it could be anywhere whereby it may be your first preference, or it could be your 10th preference, or anything in between. So if you take Maynooth, we've about 18,000 applicants who are applying for about 20,000 courses in terms of course mentions for 4,000 places. So just to say, when we say applicants, each individual person can be applying to Maynooth one or more times, or not at all, in fact. So basically, you're applying on the CEO, and then it's up to you as an applicant to decide where do I want to go. But the situation with Maynooth is that in terms of, we have lots of people who are applying as a first preference, second preference, and so on. So it's right across the whole spectrum.
And just as a sidebar to that, John, a question not asked at the moment, but one that we get quite frequently is, if I have more than one type of qualification, like if I have a QQI qualification, but I am also over 23, yes, how does the CAO system sort of legislate for that?
So the wonderful thing is, what happens is the CEO and Maynooth University will allow you have multiple opportunities to present your best case. So if you're applying on the basis of mature years, we will be assessing you during the springtime, and you might be getting an offer in the first week in July as a mature applicant. But let's assume you didn't, but that you have a whole set of QQI courses that you've done, and you've QQI results. We independently will review those, and you might be able to get a place based on your QQI results. So you have a second chance. And indeed, if you had a leave insert from a few years back, that'll be a third chance that you'd have in round one. So it's not as if one category will negate the other. You will be assessed each time based on what you're presenting. So it's quite possible to be assessed on the basis of your mature years, and then separately on the basis of your QQI, and then separately on the basis of your Leaving Cert.
So fill out that application in fulsomely. If we apply for the CAO now, can we change it before the 1st of February, assuming their list of courses?
Yes, you can change it every single day, zero cost. So you can go back into your CAO portal and you just click on your applications and you can put in new courses or move them around or take ones that are there off every single day right up until the 1st of February.
And then the change of mind, of course, opens again at the start of May. 2 students apply for the same course. The course is the first preference for one of the students and the third preference for the other. Both students are above the cutoff for the course. Who will be ranked first for the course? The student who got more points or the student who put the course as the first preference?
That's a lovely question.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I can tell you 100% it's going to be the student with the higher points. So even if it's the person who's a 10th preference and they have higher points than the first preference, they will be ranked higher than the person with first preference. So what happens is basically it's ranked by the points. Yeah.
And that is it for now.
Great. Thank you very much. And listen, folks, we love questions, so keep the questions coming. And just to mention again, there's the questions in our own webinar, but there's also a question channel that's out on the website where you can ask admissions, and also another channel on our website, which is Ask a Student. So lots of opportunities to ask us any questions that you wish. We love questions. So just moving on, people will say to us, how do we calculate the points? So what happens is we're going to take your best 6 subjects. The first thing we're going to do is say, are you doing higher level mathematics? And if you have a H6 or higher, we give you an extra 25 points. So say, for instance, you have a H6, we take the 46 that you can see on the screen here, add 25 to it to give you 71. And if your 71 is one of your best 6, your maths bonus is included. But in the rare circumstance whereby that 71 is below all of your other subjects, your 6 other subjects that are higher, then the maths bonus points isn't included. But most applicants getting the honours maths with the bonus above a H6 get the benefit of it being scored into their best 6. Obviously, if you get a H7 in mathematics, you don't get the bonus. So that's between the 30 and the 39%. And it goes right across the spectrum from the H1 from 100 down to the 06, which is 12. And as you move down, what happens is the gradations change. So it's 12 points from a H1 to a H2, and then 11, and then 11, and then 10. So as you move down, you're actually, the differential gets less, or indeed, as you move up the other way, the differential becomes more. So the better you do, the better points you acquire. And then in terms of the actual points that's determining how a particular course is determined, it's the number of applicants for a particular course, the number of places, and then the performance. How well do people do? So those are the 3 variables that are brought together that will determine the points. And indeed, just to say that when you look at points levels, that just reflects the last person who got a place. So if there's 100 people in the class and you look at the points in digitally online or in the paper, what you'll find is that the points that's mentioned is the cutoff of the last person who got in. It might be that there's loads of other people in the class with 625 points, but the points are just the last person who came in. In terms then of just across the trend, when we look back in time pre-COVID, this is 2019, you can see a normal distribution whereby the biggest group of students was in the 300 to 399 range. And then what happened was in the first of the COVID years, there was the teacher accredited grades were given and points kind of moved over to the right. And most people got on average about 30 points more. So you can see it here, the largest group is in the 400 to 499. If we look the following year in terms of 2020, in 2021, when we look at it, what happened was again where students got the benefit of the teacher accredited grades, or indeed they took exams. And on the right-hand side, you can see the points went up again by another 30. So all else being equal, between 2019 and 2020, there was about a 60-point increase in terms of course requirements, course points. But if we look at the most recent year, 2022, you can see at the higher end here, there was an easing out, a dropping off, or what you'd call it gliding down, where the State Exams Commission did actually deliver what they said, which was on average across the entire spectrum. Students ended up with the same points in 2022 as 2021. But what they did was they took a bit more off the top end and give it more to the lower. But on average, it was the same overall. And then we have two wonderful schemes that we're very, very strong in supporting. There's the DARE scheme and the HERE scheme. The DARE scheme is the Disability Access Route to Education, whereby if you have a disability that has impacted on your learning in your school, we want to step in and support you. So our access office will be able to help. And also in the HERE scheme, the Higher Education Access Route. So if it's a case that you feel I won't have enough income, I'm attending perhaps a deaf school or in terms of a disadvantaged area, under the DARE scheme and the HERE scheme, you have to have 300 points and you have to be within 60 points of the cutoff. And what happens is we have a quota of places for HERE and DARE. And if the cutoff points will say 400 points and we have 5 places for HERE and 5 places for DARE, we go down below the 400 points to find the first 5 people who are DARE eligible or HERE eligible, and we give them the place. So in some way, we have about 100 students on the DARE scheme and the HERE scheme every year who join the university who wouldn't have otherwise if we didn't have the schemes available. And the Access Office at Maynooth are exceptional in terms of supporting students on both of those programs. And then you might say, well, how much does it cost to go to college? What happens is if your household income, which is the tax year 2022, household income was less than about 55,000, the state will step in through the SUSI grant, that's the Student Universal Support Ireland, and it will fund you to go to college and give you a maintenance grant as well. But for families whereby the income is higher than that, there's a tiered effect whereby between 55 and 62, students will be paying €1,500. Between 62 and 99, it's 2,500. And above 100,000, you're paying the 3,000 student contribution charge. So just to say, these are for EU students resident in the EU. For non-EU students, the fees are about 14,000 on average across our program. So that's for a non-EU applicant. And we can take questions towards the end in terms of fees and so on, but just to give you an explanation in broad terms what's required. Maynooth University have payment plans and payment schemes whereby normally people are paying half of the fee at the beginning of the year in September when they register, and then the other half in January the following year. So one of the things just to mention though is the aspect around a student who's repeating, you will have to pay fees. So in fairness, if you don't attend any courses, don't do the labs, don't do assignments, don't do exams, and repeat the year, you'd end up having to pay the fees plus the student contribution charge the year that you're repeating. Now, once you pass that year, then you would move into the free fees scheme again. So it's just a 1-year penalty. We're often asked questions about accommodation. How does the accommodation get allocated? We set aside 50% of our places for first years, and those are given out after round 1. So anybody who's getting an offer gets an email saying, we're booking in. We have an entrance scholarship scheme for students who have over 575 points. They get first option. Now they do have to pay for the accommodation, but they get first option. And any remaining places, and there will be a few hundred places then, are released out. And within about a half an hour, they're actually full in terms of the accommodation. But just to stress, we have the whole aspect of commuter routes and transport routes. We've got the Maynooth pad whereby there's people staying in the community in houses as part of the renting houses. So there's a whole scheme there under Maynooth pad that would help you and support you in terms of accommodation on campus. So I just want to kind of almost say in terms of the key messages in terms of CAO, there's the aspect of strict order of preference, studying all the preferences carefully, the application deadlines and change of mind, being aware about restricted courses like music and community work. They must be on your CAO before the 1st of February. If you're not, you'd miss out for them for the year. But the other courses, as Judith was saying earlier on, you can put in a change of mind from the 5th of May until the 1st of July. If it's not a restricted course, you can add it in later on in the year. And then eligibility. So you'd be saying, am I actually presenting the right subject? If it may be that it's required at honours, like it's a H4 in primary education for H4 in Irish. So you have to check that. And these are the pieces that are important. If we just take the example of a student who's applying on the CAO across all of their preferences and have a quick look at it, we just want to show you how the CAO computer allocates it and why it's so important to have aspects and your preferences in the right order. So when we look at it, it might be that you're applying for a whole range of different courses. And for some courses, you're getting an offer. You'll be eligible because you're more than the points. But what happens in practice is the CAO computer says, I can't get the person to place in number 1. I'll check number 2. I can't get them into number 2. I'll check number 3. Yes, I can. And then what happens is it actually offers out the place to the student on number 3, but then it actually deletes all of their preferences below that. And that's why it's so important to place your courses in your direct, genuine order of preference, because what happens every year is hundreds of students might get their 5th choice, but then they're saying, I really want my 7th or my 8th or my 9th, and there's nothing can be done because that choice has gone off to somebody else. We can't take the offer back from that person. So it's very, very important to know that genuine order of preferences is so important. And then when we look at it, what we find is that there's an aspect of dream courses where you're saying, these are the courses I most want to do, so they'd be at the top. Because you might say, I won't do all that well, but then do really well and get more points than you expected. And you now have the points and you would have missed out. So dream courses towards the top, realistic courses in the middle, and then banker courses toward the bottom. So that this is as a possible spread. And then I just want to mention a few things about the aspect of moving up. So if you're offered your 3rd preference, maybe in round 1, a week later, colleges haven't offered out or haven't got all the places filled, to make more offers, points fall, and you might move up from in round 2 up to your 2nd preference. You're under no obligation to take your 2nd preference. You've got your 3rd preference, you've accepted it perhaps. You're under no obligation to move to your 2nd. You can if you wish. Indeed, the following week you might get your 1st preference and you can move up again. So you're in the driving seat all the time. You've been offered a place, you can accept it or not. The other thing we'd say is that there's a risk. You might be offered, say, your 3rd preference. You decide, you choose not to take it. You're saying, I definitely will get something higher. But if nothing better comes along, you can't go back a couple of weeks later and ask for it back. It's gone. So you have to treat any offer as if it was your last. Random selection then is the aspect whereby sometimes you see maybe 400 star. And that 400 star means that maybe there was 50 places in the course, and at 401 points, there was 40 places filled. On the 400 points, there's 20 people. And what the computer does, it randomly goes in and picks out 10 people. So you'd see 400 star. It's just that not everybody on 400 points got a place. Everybody in 401 got a place, 399 didn't. But on 400, there's a random selection piece there. And then available places is like UCAS, whereby sometimes a college hasn't filled all their places. They put the course up on the available places list, and you can actually put that in, even if you haven't been a CAO applicant, or if you applied already, you can go back in. And it's a really powerful option, but you'll never find the more popular courses on the available places list. It tends to be the less popular courses. The other thing I just want to mention is appeal. So every year there's people apply on the basis of an appeal and they get upgraded. And the wonderful thing at Maynooth University is that we've been able to take everybody who has had an upgrade up to now. But some years it could be possible that whereby we've filled all the courses and it isn't possible. We really try. And worst case would be that we'd reserve that place for a person for the following year. And then deferrals, often we get a sense whereby people are saying to us, I think I may not go to college in 2023. I'll hold off and apply in 2024. We'd be highly recommending you apply in 2023, secure the place, and then defer it until 2024, because it might be that the points would rise significantly. And by applying this year, as long as you place that choice, that course, your first and only preference, you're guaranteed it the following year. One of the wonderful things about Maynooth is to help you in that transitioning. We have a whole suite of offices that support you in your learning. There's the aspect of in terms of the counselling, the health centre, the chaplaincy and the budgeting home finder. There's a whole range of services that are there for you to help you settle in and make that transition to Maynooth. There's also a whole range of academic support services like the Academic Advisory Office, the Career Service, the Math Support Centre, the Language Support Centre, the Coding Support Centre. There's a whole range of offices that really will support you in your learning. And Maynooth is very much a student-centred place. So that sense of supporting you to be the best that you can be, that's part of our philosophy. I mentioned at the very beginning around the aspect of seeing us in person and coming to the campus. You're very, very welcome to join us. The next open day is on the 22nd of April, the spring open day, and then we have the summer open day on the 24th of June. But you can connect in with us every single day in terms of the portals that we have, and in terms of the chat with students that's available to you this evening, but also ongoing as well. It's a great way to connect in with our students. And then obviously we'll be taking registrations in terms of our spring open day if you want to do that. So I think we'll stop there, Judith, and we'll open it up to any questions that our visitors might have for us.
Yes, indeed, John. And also just to say that we have campus tours as well. So they're available for anyone who would like to book one. They're on the website too. I'm wondering about accommodation and how is it distributed amongst all those who apply? Is it that there are any exceptions and what are the costs?
Yeah, so what happens is the allocation of the first year accommodation happens after round one. So what happens is you can't apply for them in advance. We only give the people who have a round one offer the option of coming onto the campus in terms of booking in. And we basically say, okay, it's going to open at 12 o'clock. And the first people who we offer to in advance are the students who have an entrance scholarship who have 575 points or more. They get first option on it. Then after that, the places that are left, so we'd have about 550 apartments that are available for first years, and they're booked out within an hour. And the cost then would be around 6,000. So in terms of that €6,000 cost is payable across the year in different installments and would be very reasonably priced relative to accommodation costs generally in other cities across Ireland.
John, what percentage of students are EU or international?
So we're finding that about 95% of our undergraduate first years would be EU, and most of those would be from the Republic of Ireland. About 5% of our places then would be filled by non-EU, and obviously then we have postgraduate places as well. So across the entire campus, what we would say is that about 10% of our students are international. We have obviously a campus in China as well, but that question around what percentage of our students are EU citizens, about 90%, about 95% of our first year undergraduates would be from Europe, as in Republic of Ireland and rest of Europe.
As a QQI pre-university law student, do I have a disadvantage at getting my course compared to a Leaving Cert student?
No, in the sense that you will be applying for the set aside places that we put for QQI students. So you'll be applying as a pre-university law student on the basis of your QQI. What we'd be advising you to do, though, is to do as many of the best, to do as well as you can to get the distinctions. So 8 distinctions will have more weighting than 7, than 6, and so on. We'd also recommend that you apply for MH 101. So you'd be applying for MH 501 or 502, which are the 2 law programs, but also MH 101. It's less competitive to come into arts. This year, everybody on 5 distinctions got a place in the arts program, the MH 101, whereas in the case of law, it might have been 7 distinctions or 8. So the advice we give is apply for both 501 or 502, but also then MH 101 as well. But you're not at a disadvantage.
And not at a disadvantage coming into MH 101 either, John, because
not at all.
The pathways into those degrees are there. Does the university also have extra financial help for students, laptops perhaps?
They do, but there's particular requirements whereby under the HERE scheme and the DER scheme, there is options around laptop provision. And in the case of what we call the Student Assistance Fund, there's the capacity whereby for families with low income, you'd be making an application to the Access Office for a laptop. But that's something that you'd be making an individual application to the Minute Access Programme for those supports.
And there's a laptop loan scheme as well, John, isn't there? And also the library rent out, if you like, laptops to students as well. So
absolutely, Judith. And so in some way we're conscious that digital learning is so important, so you do need the infrastructure. So there's many different pathways in terms of the library, as Judith says, or indeed the laptop loan programme.
Yeah, there are lots of supports there. And that's it for now, John.
Thanks a million. So we might go across then to Sneha, if that's okay, and introduce you. And over to you, Sneha. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, John. Hi, guys. I hope everyone's doing well. Just to briefly introduce myself, my name is Sneha, and I am in my final year of my LLB degree, which is the pure law degree. So I only do law, unlike there's other course options. So Maynooth offers various options to do law. So you can do law and accounting, law and criminology, law through arts. And I think that's one of the best things about Maynooth, the fact that there's just so many options. You're not under pressure to decide where you want to go in the future or what you want to do. They give you a bit of time to test it out, and if you want to transfer out or transfer into a different course, it's very easy. But just to give you an idea of when I did my Leaving Cert in 2019, so I know what you guys must be feeling, how overwhelming it must be, and just to put it out there that, you know, just take it day by day. It all does come together at the end. And if anyone is worried about the transition from secondary school, from secondary school into college, I can assure you that, you know, it's very smooth, it's very easy. People at Maynooth are there to help you, whether that's, you know, the department heads, the staff, the lecturers, the students, and just the people that are around you. To be honest, they're very nice. Everyone's very friendly and everyone's very welcoming. Everyone's willing to give a helping hand, so you don't need to worry about how it's going to be, how the transition is going to be. And just to put it out there, like, Maynooth is known for the various clubs and societies that we have, and I personally do think that the transition was made easier by just testing out various clubs and various societies. For example, the Law Society was one that I tried out in first year, just going to their events and seeing what they were about. You make a lot of friends through stuff like that. And like I said, you know, everyone's so friendly in Maynooth that it's really not hard to make friends here. But if I were to give myself a bit of advice, I would say take it day by day. And, you know, really speak to your guidance counsellor and see what each different college offers you and what the different courses are offered in these colleges, and see what caters to your interests. For example, in secondary school, I really enjoyed public speaking and getting involved in various team activities. So when I looked at the LLB course schedule, I knew that this course was the one for me, because there's so many interpersonal modules here. For example, negotiation, dispute resolution skills, and you learn so much about developing yourself as a person and not just as a law student. But I think I can open the floor to questions now, if you guys have any questions, or if John wants to come back on either.
Yes, yeah, I think that's lovely, the way you kind of, that sense around, I can hear it. And I suppose what I'm sensing is that it's so important, and the advice we'd give is that a student is studying something they love and that they're happy in. And sometimes there's a dilemma whereby it might be that significant people in your life, maybe a parent or an older sibling or an aunt or uncle, might say, we think this is the best course for you. There's this dilemma, and I don't know if you just maybe tease out this a little bit, Sneha. There's always a dilemma by significant people who matter to you around your frame, around your community, are saying you should do A, B, or C. And sometimes it can be difficult to say, well, no, it's best that I do this. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that. I'm not sure, not to personalize it to yourself, but that sense around the dilemma sometimes whereby It might be you're hearing, oh, there's better jobs in this, or there's something or something or something. Like what's your sense around studying something that you love? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I think that's a really common dilemma and something that I definitely face as well. But just to keep it very general, I think you need to think about the fact that if anyone is in this situation right now, you know, it's your life, it's your future. Will you be happy at it? And I think everything comes down to that. Will you be happy doing this? You know, most degrees in Maynooth, 3 years, 4 years, that's a very long time to be doing something. And if you're not going to enjoy it, you're not going to be good at it. That's something that I really believe in. I do think passion can make the difference. Passion can make you successful no matter what the field is. And I do think, you know, when you're in 6th year, something that I looked at was, oh, this route is more successful than this. But when you come into college, you realize that, you know, it's about how you approach each route. It's not about the route itself. And something that you can do there is once you have decided that, you know, this is the course for you, you can really build your CV right from the start. And that's something that I would definitely recommend everyone watching this webinar to do. Right from first year, build that CV. If that's getting work experience in whatever field that you're doing, it doesn't have to be law. Get that work experience, go meet people, talk to them. And if you are in the situation that John was talking about, I would definitely recommend speaking to someone in that course that you're not sure about, that you're hearing other people deterring you from, and just get a real sense of what it's about. But just to sum it up, I really do think, you know, it's about whether you're happy. So at the end of the day, bring it back to yourself and see whether you will be happy 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And if the answer is no, then you have your answer right there. I don't think I need to say anything more than that.
Very good. Thank you, Sneha. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a question there about international students. Say, are there many studying law that you've come across, or you know, what's that like?
Yeah, there is a couple. I wouldn't say there is a lot, but in every class that I have been in personally, there has been, I would say, 5 to 10, somewhere in that range. So yeah, there is a good mix between like students coming straight from Leaving Cert, students coming from PPC, PLCs, and then mature students and international students as well.
What about the workload, the pressure to get your assignments and essays done?
I was saying this in the Meet the Students webinar as well. I don't think that's something that you can pick up till like 4th year, to be honest. Like, there are still assignments that I'm stressing over personally. But the thing that I would say is get a planner right from day one and just break it up into chunks. It can be very overwhelming when you get that first reading list and you see the amount of reading that you have to do, or whether you're in a non-law degree and you see that you have to watch all these videos or listen to all these podcasts. You know, break it up and assign different tasks for different days, so that you know that, you know, once I tackle these 2 things today, I'm done for the day, and I can do it bit by bit by bit. And you know, every staff member that I've come across is very understanding, is very helpful. And personally, like, lecturers that I had in first year, they were so helpful with the transition that they really talk you through what to do and how to approach it, whether that's how to read a legal article. I know I keep saying legal because I'm a law student, but they really do talk you through how to approach everything. So get a planner and just remember that, you know, once you do your bit per day, you will be okay.
And a question for you, John. Is there an opportunity for someone who wants to change his or her course after gaining admission to study a particular program?
Yeah, thanks, Jude. So that's quite limited. What we really would encourage people to do is apply on the basis of their preference for the courses that they really want to do, because most importantly, what we find at Maynooth is that 99.99% of people are coming in, and yes, this is the right course for them. But there are exceptions. So sometimes a student might say, no, this isn't it. We absolutely have a hard and fast rule around, you have to have the course requirements, you have to have the points, there has to be places available, and you make an application. And then that's reviewed by our transfer admissions team. But there'd be no question of somebody joining the university with less points and then wanting to switch to a course with higher points. So you have to have all of the requirements, all of the points, and there has to be available places. So places available in that program. So it's quite rare. It's not that it never happens, but it's a very rare occurrence. So the advice we'd give is make sure to have your choices in the right order. Yeah.
That's it. I'd say we might hand over to our colleagues who are doing the chat, the web chat. on the other side, if you think so, John.
Yep. One final piece, if I may, Sneha, and not putting you on the spot, but there's always a dilemma around part-time work and the trade-off between the income that you accrue, but then the sense that you might not do as well in your studies as you possibly could. And I know there's no right or wrong answer, but maybe talk to us about the benefit of summer work, but also the trade-offs maybe in part-time work during the academic year. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I did do a little bit of part-time work in second year during the Christmas period. And this can be very personal, but I personally don't recommend it, especially during assignment season. It just gets too overwhelming. You're not getting much rest, you're not getting much sleep, and it gets really hard for you. But if you are in a position that, you have to work, I would recommend, anything up to 10 hours with, consider your lecture hours and your tutorial hours and how much time you need if you're commuting as well. Take all that into consideration. If you can do anything from 8 to 10 hours, like it's a personal choice, but I wouldn't recommend anything more than 10 hours, to be honest. I would rather do work over the summer. I worked second year summer and third year summer at a local solicitor's firm, and it's just much easier, like, because the days are longer in the summer. So even if you're working 9 to 5, you do have the rest of your evening to do whatever you want to do, really. And I just felt like I was much more at peace working during the summer than I was during Christmas period. But again, like, it's up to you, but on a general rule, I wouldn't recommend more than 10 hours.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sneha. So can I just say thanks to Judith, our colleague Judith Caffrey, who managed the whole session. Judith is the admissions communications officer and has multiple jobs every single day and still survives. So thank you, Judith, for this evening. And Sneha, thank you. Listen, the best luck. I know this is a very important year. And one of the things that you find at Maynooth is that we have no contribution from first year for any of our final degree results, but it rises. So for a student on a 3-year program, it's 30% of second year, 70% of third year. In the case of the SNAE program, where you're doing 4-year, it's 10% in second year, 20% in third year, and 70% in fourth year. So I'm conscious, SNAE, no pressure, but 70% of it is riding in this year, your final year. So thank you for spending the time with us this evening. And we wish all of our guests best of luck in the decisions you make. We're very confident that Maynooth University offers a fantastic opportunity and it's a wonderful environment to study in. So thank you very much for joining us this evening and the best of luck. And we're going to sign off now. Thank you.